You're tuned to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay. This is the program called The Wonderful World of Wardini Books, and it's our pleasure, as always, to have in the studio, looking great as always, the wonderful Lou from Wardini in Havelock North. How you going, Lou?
Kia ora, Ken. I'm very well. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. All the better for seeing you. Now, before we get into today's reviews, just remind our listeners, where will we find Wardini Books?
Wardini Books is 16 Tomato Road in Havelock North and 44 Hastings Street, Napier.
Open 7 days a week?
Absolutely.
You're everywhere?
Yes.
Facebook?
All over the place.
Yep, I know.
Hanging out with the stars.
Oh, you did too. I saw your post on Facebook. Jordan Luck doesn't get any better than that, does it?
No, just sauntered into the shop for a book on Sunday.
Does the privacy law stop you telling us what book he bought?
Oh, probably not. I put it on Facebook. He's holding it on Facebook. He actually bought, I think we've reviewed it on here. It is SH1T Towns of New Zealand.
That's right, it was, yeah. Good
yeah, he did not want to say the swear word out loud. He was very gentlemanly.
Good on him. That's what I like to hear. Tell us all about Mr. Walker.
The first book today, Mr. Walker and the Dessert Delight, which appeals to me, by Jess Black, illustrated by Sarah Acton. So this is a chapter book. On reflection, I think it'd be a really good one to read aloud to little kids of probably about 4 and 5 and up. And if you're going to read it on your own, you'd have to be quite a savvy sort of 7 and up.
Yes.
Because some of the language is really rich. So Mr. Walker is based on a real life dog called Mr. Walker, who is a guide dog ambassador, and he lives at Park Hyatt, Melbourne. He lives in the hotel.
Nice.
So this is set in the hotel, and it's from the perspective of Mr. Walker, who is really, really interested in food and sleep and walks. Obviously, because he's a dog, he's a golden Labrador.
Sure.
So he lives with Henry, who's the hotel manager, in the hotel with his family. And in this one, they're going to have a 20th anniversary of the hotel, the Park Hyatt in Melbourne, and everyone's invited, and they've got a celebrity chef coming to help with the big events. But the problem is they've already got a chef. They've got Chef Remy, who is a French chef, and then they've got this German celebrity chef whose name escapes me, Greta somebody I think it is, and everybody adores her because she's on TV. Remy is not happy and turns into a very cross chef, as chefs can sometimes be. So Mr. Walker, is all down to him to smooth the path, you know.
Yes.
But there are lots of absolutely beautiful descriptions of food which are going to appeal to parents, and they're going to appeal to kids that are quite into that, because lots of little kids like cooking.
Yes, they are. They do these days.
So he's sauntering down the corridors that lead to the kitchen. Mr. Walker particularly enjoyed this route, as it was always rich with scents. He could detect the smell of eggs scrambling in a hint of truffle oil.
Yum.
And fluffy pancakes drizzled in maple syrup. So it's a nice hotel.
Sounds
it's not
delissimo,
your
doesn't it?
backpackers, is it?
What's your favourite food to smell?
Oh,
if you had to pick
God.
one scent, not necessarily to eat, but what's this?
Five Spice.
5 Spice.
Yeah, I love that. Or tarragon. It's more the herby smells that I like. How about you?
Or bacon.
Oh, really, Ken? No little
What
piggies.
a pig, eh?
No little piggies. So yeah, Mr. Walker's just lovely, and there's a whole series of them.
Indeed. And you want to talk now about Toffee. Oh, it's one of my favourites too. I love Toffee.
This is an incredible book. There's no actual real chewy toffee in it.
No, damn.
It's Sarah Crossan, who writes all sorts of things. She's won all sorts of awards, like the Carnegie Award, which is a massive one for kids literature, and the Young Adult Book Prize, and all sorts of things that she's won, Children's Choice. I think she's from Ireland originally, but this one, she writes in verse, so she writes verse novels, which makes it really fast and easy to read, and she says an enormous amount of beautiful things with very few words. So in this one, Alison is our hero. She's probably about 15, 16, and she's not had a mum around since birth. Her mother died, and her father's brought her up, but her father is violent. He's obviously never got used to raising a child by himself. There has been a lovely stepmum who got fed up and left, encouraging Alison to go with her, but Alison was too loyal to her father. But one step too far, she's burnt on her face by her father, and she decides to leave and try and find the stepmother, Kellyanne, by going down to Cornwall, it's set in England, to try and find her from London. And gets there, and Kellyanne's on the move. She can't track her down, she can't text, she's getting no replies to her messages, and she finds a shed that's attached to a seemingly abandoned house, and she sleeps there for the night, and on the next morning peers through the window and comes face to face with an old lady. Long story short, this lady Marla has a dementia and thinks that Alison is her long lost friend from Ireland, Toffee.
Right.
And so there's this relationship starts between Alison, who's trying to run away and forget everything, and Marla, who's desperately trying to remember things.
Oh, wonderful.
And it is absolutely beautiful. So all the things that they go through together, and the difficulties of the carer coming in and Alison having to hide, and not knowing if she's going to get Marla, who's having a good day and will recognise her as somebody, or who the hell are you and what are you doing in my house?
Exactly.
So yeah, it was just absolutely beautiful.
Spoiler alert, good ending?
It's the ending that has to happen.
Yeah, that's what I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Whisper Man.
Oh, this is creepy. It's creepy. I loved it. I just sat on my bum and read it from start to finish. So this is a novel, very grown up novel by Alex North, and it is it's another death, unfortunately, another dead mum. So she has died and left Tom Kennedy with his son, who's about 6. And they decide that they're going to move away from the house that they've lived in with the mum, get rid of the terrible memories, because the little boy Jake found his mum when she died in the house, and there are certain areas of the house that he cannot pass through for, because he's got a trauma. And so they trawl the internet looking at houses, and little Jake is particularly drawn to this particular house in a village called Featherbank, and they buy the house and they move in. But Jake starts having problems at his new school. He's talking about the little boy under the floorboards, and there's all sorts of stuff like that, creepy stuff going on. And the side plot that becomes very involved with this is also that there was a terrible serial killer that murdered little boys 20 years previously in this town, and another little boy's gone missing.
No.
Yeah. So it was incredibly creepy. All sorts of different plot lines that gather together really well, and quite a sort of shocking ending as well. Just couldn't put it down.
No.
But you've got to have a bit. You've got to be into the gory crime stuff to be able to read this.
Okay, can't wait for the movie.
It's not fluffy. Actually, I think the movie rights have been sold. If I could find that. Yeah, optioned for film in a Hollywood deal by the Russo brothers.
Excellent. Look forward to that. Okay, before we let you get back to work, just remind our listeners who want to come and get one of these wonderful books, or any one of about 10,000 other ones you've got in stock. Where are you?
That's about right. We are 16 Tomato Road, Havelock North, 44 Hastings Street, Napier.
As always, my pleasure, Lou. You look after yourself. We'll talk to the same time, same place next week.
Cheers, Ken.